Okay, welcome everybody to the Life Sciences edition of Discover the Sciences. We still have some people joining, but we'll go ahead and get started. It's close to 5:35 now. We have a number of people here to talk about their experience as faculty and students. So I think the first thing we'll do is to go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Tom Christ. I'm professor and chair of biology. And let's start with our two people from admission that we have here.
Hi everyone, my name is Margaret Bennett Swihart and I am an admission counselor in the Office of Admission.
Hi everyone, my name is Carol Richmond and I'm also in the Office of Admission, and I'm also a proud parent of a Miami alum who went through this program, worked with so many of these faculty doing research, and is now a doctor in the north of Ohio. So really proud to be a part of this program.
All right, Luis, and then maybe the rest of the microbiology faculty.
Okay, good afternoon or good evening, and thank you for coming and joining us. I'm Luis Actis, the chair of microbiology, and I have been here in Miami for 26 years. So I have a long time being here, and I have been participating in this great program where we show you what you can do and learn about biological sciences. Biology and microbiology are really cool science fields.
I'm Kelly Abshire, also from the Department of Microbiology. I am a teaching professor. I've been here since 2000, and I'm also the chief department advisor for the public health major for students who have the human disease and epidemiology concentration.
Hi, I'm Becky Balish. I'm also one of the chief departmental advisors for the Department of Microbiology. And I've been at Miami now for about 16 years. So I'm happy to help answer any questions that y'all might have.
So Susan and Kathy.
I'm Susan Hoffman in the Department of Biology, and I've been here for 25 years. So I'm also chief department advisor, have been for a while, so I'm good at the rules.
Kathy.
You're muted, Kathy.
Does that help?
Yep.
I guess I shouldn't be muted when I'm talking. So I'm Kathy Killian. I'm in the biology department. I'm the biology advisor for the neuroscience co-major and minor. And I have been here for 28 years almost.
Great. So let's move on to our students, maybe Abby and then David. Maybe tell us what your major is and what some of the, maybe a key highlight of your experience here.
So I'm Abby, I'm a senior here and I have a major in biology and a co-major pre-medical studies and a minor in molecular biology. I would say one of my highlights at Miami would be the research opportunities I've had. So that's a big thing that drew me here, and then I got to experience that. So.
All right, my name's David Durker. I'm a senior here, and I'm a biology and also bio pre-med major. And I would say probably one of the highlights for me is also just doing research. I do research in retina regeneration, so it's some really interesting stuff, and makes it makes for very interesting times.
All right, Ariel and then Hope.
Hi, I'm Ariel. I'm a bio pre-med major, and another highlight, like everyone else has said, is research for me. And I do research with lens regeneration in the newt, so it's really cool.
Hi, I'm Hope. I'm a third-year microbiology student with minors in geology and bioinformatics. I'd say my biggest highlight has also been doing research, but then also specifically the microbiology department. I have not found a group of people who are so progress focused as well as caring and just truly trying to initiate just assistance for us as students. I've just yet to find that. So honestly, that's been my biggest highlight, to just be able to see that throughout my time here in Miami.
All right, Susanna and Garrett.
Hi, I'm Susanna. I'm a senior microbiology major, and I would say a highlight for me has been some of my science classes, especially in the micro department. All my professors have been great, and they really, like as Hope mentioned, like they're outstanding. They go above and beyond to like help you succeed. And from like the first micro class I ever took, which was like an elective like phage research class, I was like, I love this department. I love working with the professors here. And that's just been like my favorite part about Miami.
Hi, my name is Garrett Schilling. I'm a senior microbiology pre-med major. And just to kind of echo what Susanna and Hope have said, the microbiology department and the faculty in it and the classes that I've taken have probably been the best part, just because it is kind of a smaller department that the faculty members, you kind of get to know all of them and they all know you, and it's very friendly and helpful.
And then Alyssa.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Alyssa Miller. I am a biology and Spanish major and a pre-med co-major. And as of last week, I have been accepted to my first medical school. So next year I'll be going to medical school, and definitely could not have done it without this department. And a highlight has definitely been research as well. I actually work with Ariel on the call, and we work in lens regeneration in the newt.
All right, great. And so you'll have plenty of time to ask questions of our faculty and student panel. I would like to show you a few slides so we can show off our building. We're real proud of our newly renovated building. So we'll show you a few slides about our building and our program. Okay, so Pearson Hall is the home of the life sciences, and it was built in 1986, and the renovation was formally completed. It was a 4-year renovation, so it was a lot of hard work for us to move around multiple times, but we're finally finished as of this summer, and we're really, really anxious to show it off when we get the opportunity. So here's some of our new student spaces that we have inside the main lobby here on the left. It's a focal point of that is the Mural of Life, the Web of Life mural that's was commissioned by, when the building was first built, by Cincinnati artist Charlie Harper. In a normal semester, our student study areas have been completely full all day long. A little sparser this semester, but they've been getting a lot of great use. On the right, we have our new atrium, which was an old outdoor courtyard, which has been converted into an indoor space where you can plug in your computer, look at the screen together, and it has nice natural lighting, and it's a great space to spend time in. We're also really happy about our new teaching and research labs. A big change in our teaching labs is that they're much more open. Boxes to, cubbies to put book bags in, so it's a much safer lab to walk around in, more space to move around. We have video monitors at each of the lab tables, which we can control together or independently of one another. And it makes it much easier for the lab instructors to get around the teaching tables. And then our research spaces are shared faculty research labs that are allow for a wide range of flexible uses over time. And I'm sure the students will talk more about their research experiences as we go along. So in Pearson Hall, we have currently have 3 departments, biology and microbiology, which will be the permanent homes for those 2 departments. The Department of Nursing is also here for the next couple years. They have their some office space and their skills and simulation lab here. And they will be moving into a new clinical health sciences building when that is completed. We also have the Mallory Wilson Center for Healthcare Education, which Joe Carlin will say more about later on. And then 2 research facilities, shared research facilities, the Center for Bioinformatics and Functional Genomics, which has state-of-the-art equipment for genomics and proteomics work, and a lot of our, I'm guessing that several of our students have worked in that space. And then we also have a Center for Aquatic and Watershed Sciences in Pearson. There are other centers around campus that are connected to life sciences research and education. Another state-of-the-art center for advanced microscopy and imaging has several electron microscopes, laser confocal microscopes, and light microscopes that are available for use and are used by several of the science departments. The Terrell Herbarium, which is the largest in Ohio, and then the Hefner Museum of Natural History has an environmental education and natural history focus that a lot of students gain experience doing those kinds of activities. And then for more field-oriented research, we have the Ecology Research Center that's pictured there at the center. That's just 2 miles from campus. Just a few highlights of the Department of Biology. So we have approximately 30 faculty structured into 6 research areas of expertise and also teaching expertise. And that ranges from molecular to global biology. We offer 3 different degrees and degree options in biology, botany, and zoology. We have about 1,000 majors, so we're one of the larger majors at the university and in the College of Arts and Science. As you've heard already from the students, a lot of our students also pursue double majors in other areas outside of the sciences or co-majors in pre-medical neuroscience and environmental science are the 3 most common co-majors. Over 70% of our students, undergraduate students, gain research and experience in faculty research labs, and over half of them go on to graduate and professional schools. And really all of our departments have very high placement rates, either into furthering their education or into job opportunities. So I'll let Luis say a few words about the Department of Microbiology.
In the Department of Microbiology teaches several courses and programs, and we had the BA and BS in microbiology that allow you to go to professional schools, or if you get the BS, helps you to go into grad school. About 4 years or 5 years ago, we started the AB in public health, and Dr. Kelly Absher can talk a lot about that. And the idea is to get this program rolling. And I imagine nowadays being in public health is a really, really interesting topic, considering the pandemic. And also we teach the BS in medical laboratory science. That is something that is also becoming really important nowadays with all aging population, medical research, treatment, but also how do we handle the epidemics? And basically most of that is done in clinical labs. And like Tom said, over 70% of our undergrads have research experience by the time they graduate. That's something that we put a lot of emphasis and we provide a lot of support. And the idea is that personally, I feel there is nothing else better to learn is how you learn with your hands. And getting into a lab, you not only learn techniques, but you learn how to think and how to plan experiments. And even if you go to grad school, helps you how to think critically. And again, like Tom says, over 90% of our students have a placement within 1 year after graduation. And they are quite successful going into medical school, professional schools, state government, or even research labs. And we have very good prestige, and I guess goes for both biology and microbiology. Procter & Gamble is 40 miles down the south from us. They really love our graduate students, and Eli Lilly is the other one. So Columbus in Ohio State, I have very good friends, and they're always looking for Miami grads, not only because of the education, but also the ability to have training in the labs. To me, it's very, very important. And the idea is you not only participate in research, but also you publish your research. Many of our graduates, by the time they graduate, many of the undergrads, we have published publications for sure, or even participation in big national and international meetings. I think it's a great opportunity. And I let the students talk about their experiences.
Okay, I'm not sure if Joe Carlin is on yet. I know he was at another meeting, so we can say a few words about, Joe, are you there? I don't see you. So the Mallory Wilson Center for Healthcare Education really serves all students on campus who are interested in pursuing health-related careers. It makes sense for it to be in Pearson Hall because a lot of the students that pursue those careers are in our majors. The range of services has grown tremendously over the years with the full-time pre-medical, pre-health advisor. And they also, you've heard a little bit about the pre-medical studies co-major. And by the way, co-majors are complementary to standalone majors. They usually are areas that span multiple departments and fields. They offer several professional development courses. One of the really neat things they do is they bring back a lot of our alumni to campus to talk about their experiences in different healthcare fields. It first started as more of a pre-medical focus, but has broadened greatly since its inception. And then they offer quite a few other services like shadowing physicians and a number of other opportunities for students. So that's just a short slideshow for you. We wanted to show you some of the spaces that we would normally show you in a Discover the Sciences building tour. So we just wanted to give you a feel for what it's like to work and live in Pearson Hall. So I think at this point, we'll just open it up for questions. And we have, it looks like we have a few questions coming in now. And we encourage all of the attendees who, if you have a question, just to go ahead and submit it in the question and answer, and we'll try to direct it to the right groups of people. I can't remember. I think one of our students is a neuroscience co-major. I think one of you mentioned that you are a neuroscience co-major. Maybe not, maybe pre-medical co-major. So we'll have Kathy just, Kathy's just say a few words about the, Kathy Killian, say a few words about the neuroscience co-major.
So the co-major, like Dr. Chris said, is done in conjunction with a primary major. It's interdisciplinary, so it spans the psychology department and the biology department. It gives a broad overview of neuroscience. There are courses at the cellular and molecular level, all the way up to the behavioral level, to human cognitive neuroscience. So it spans the range with the courses in the co-major. I guess I could also add, currently there are probably about 100 students that are co-majors. Many are in psychology and biology, but we also have co-majors that are in a range of other majors, including chemistry, microbiology, business, nutrition, anthropology. There's majors from many other different fields that are pursuing the co-major.
I can take the next one about the environmental science one, and Susan can probably add some things to this. So we have several different more specialized minors within biology and microbiology. We don't have a generic biology minor. I think one of the students mentioned that they're doing a molecular biology minor. Is that Abby? You want to say a few things about that one?
Yeah, so like personally, I just found an interest in my molecular classes, like more molecular biology based classes. So it's a more focused than like my biology major. My biology major, I've taken a broad range of biology classes, but molecular, I've specifically taken like genetics, cell biology, molecular biology, and things of that nature. So it's much more focused.
And then the environmental science is a co-major, like some of the other co-majors that we've talked about. So you would need to have a primary major if you wanted to pursue the environmental science co-major. Our two departments, biology and microbiology, are common majors for the environmental science co-major. The other one would be geology or geography. The earth sciences are also common primary majors for environmental science students. Susan, would you like to say, Dr. Hoffman could probably say a few words about the zoology major and some of the opportunities for students?
Yeah, the zoology major is just a chance to be a little bit more focused specifically on the biology of animals. And of course, we also have botany major for people who want to focus specifically on plants. And so it's just a chance to, I mean, you can take the same classes as a biology major, except you might have to take a few classes in the other thing, like plant classes. But it's a chance to be a little more specific if you're specifically interested in animals. So it's a big favorite with students who are interested in vet school, and also with students who are interested in careers that involve actual interaction with animals, things like zookeeping and rescue and conservation biology. And also Miami is unusual in that we still teach some of the sort of more traditional taxon-oriented courses like mammalogy and ornithology and ichthyology. If you're really into a particular, and entomology for Dr. Chris, if you really want to dive deeply into a particular group of animals.
So maybe we can have, I know a couple of the students are pre-medical co-majors. So some of you may have plans for medical school. So some of you who are pre-medical co-majors maybe want to say a few words about what attracted you to that, and maybe whether that links to your career interests in medicine or other health-related fields.
Yeah, I can answer this one. So what initially attracted me about, I always kind of knew in high school that I wanted to go into medicine, but what initially attracted me about Miami and kind of the pre-med track was I felt like it was very well laid out with exactly the requirements you would need to succeed on the MCAT. And I found that after taking the MCAT and then going through the process of applications, that you always kind of have to check off like which prerequisites you've taken, and Miami's pre-med co-major has, you know, gone above and beyond with making sure that you do take those prerequisites. I also felt like there was like a lot of nurturing for anybody who was pre-med. They really encourage you to do shadowing. They have a preceptorship program where you can go do a week of shadowing from usually a Miami alum all over the United States. And they really encourage you to get involved in research, which is another thing that medical schools really want. So I just felt like there were a lot of opportunities, and the faculty were really kind of empowering and making sure you got every opportunity that you were looking for.
So I'm also pre-med, but I have like a unique experience in that I came in thinking I wanted to go into like medicine, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And through the pre-med track, I actually found out that I didn't want to go to med school, and I actually want to I'm actually going to get my master's in public health. I've been accepted to a couple programs now, but it's like a unique experience in that it allowed me to explore that interest that I had in the health field. And then I even found like what I really wanted to do more so than med school. So it's not just for med school. It really does like show you what you're interested in and like help guide you almost.
So this might be a good time for Dr. Abshire to chime in about the public health program here, and then our students in the life sciences who pursue public health careers.
Our program, the Human Disease and Epi concentration of public health, started not that long ago, back in 2018. And so we have just one group of graduates so far, the ones who graduated in the spring of 2020. It is a rather small group because they were actually brave enough to change their major when they were already juniors. Most of those students have gone on to enter Master of Public Health programs. Some, because of COVID, have actually decided to wait a year because I think they prefer maybe face-to-face instruction, or they had a hard time deciding back in the spring what exactly they wanted to do. A large number of our current students have a really interesting opportunity because of COVID. They are working as contact tracers for the Butler County Health Department through a program, a partnership that was developed with Miami. That's actually, you know, unheard of, right? It's only because of the current pandemic that so many students are getting this opportunity to sample what it's really like to be a public health worker while they're still in college. If anybody has any specific questions about our program, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
So it looks like Dr. Joe Carlin has been able to join us now. So Joe, why don't you just give us a real quick, I showed the slide already of the Mallory Wilson Center, but there are a couple of questions on the question and answer about that relate to pre-medicine and the MCAT exam. Maybe you could cover a few of those things.
Okay. I'd be glad to. Turns out when you come in late to a meeting, you don't get any of the chat. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You might have to read those to me. Anyways, I've had another class that I was teaching where we have guest physicians come in and talk to our students. So we were running a webinar, and I had 27 of my students who were taking my issues in healthcare class, with another 98 first-year students as attendees listening in on the conversation about how to make the correct diagnosis and the implications when you make a mistake. So anyhow, let's see. So I see a couple questions here. Is public, okay, I can't answer that one. Looks like the requirements for, okay. All right, those are not questions directly for me. So what do you have for Mallory Wilson Center? I'm the director of the Mallory Wilson Center, where we are a pre-health, pre-medicine advising center. We have a full-time pre-health professions advisor. So this is above and beyond what you would get for advising in your major. Advising in your major is really important for graduation, but what we provide is more career advising. What are the steps that I need to do in order to get admission to medical school, to dental school, to PA school? So we take that in a slightly different direction, as well as interacting with a lot of alumni physicians who provide a lot of opportunities for Miami undergraduates that are interested in healthcare careers. Okay, can I please go over what is meant by co-major? A co-major is a second major that can't be a primary major. You can always add it on to an existing major. And that's really the great thing about the pre-medical studies, is that you can add it on to any major. So you find your passion, the thing that you're most passionate about, whether it's biology or zoology or microbiology or public health or history or statistics or music, whatever it is. If you take our co-major, add that on, then you will have all the courses that you need for admission to, say, medical school or be tested on in the medical college admission test. But you can't just be pre-medical studies. You always have to have a traditional academic major.
So we also have a question about double majoring in Spanish, and I'm sorry, I can't remember which of the students was doing a double major in Spanish.
That was me.
Okay, go ahead, Alyssa.
Yeah, so it's very doable, especially specifically with Spanish and most of the languages. I came in with AP credit for Spanish, so that gave me 17 credit hours already for Spanish, so that was quite a lot. And I believe the question also had to do with studying abroad, but there are so many opportunities to study abroad. I know people that studied abroad during the semester who were also biology pre-med, but they went ahead and studied abroad for a whole semester. But I also know plenty of people that studied abroad over summer or J term. That's one of the really cool things about Miami is we have such a long J term with lots of study abroad options. So it doesn't really interrupt your coursework during the semester. So it's very, very manageable to get them both done.
And we can hear from a few of the other students about what their future career plans are after graduation, because we have some questions about how many students in our departments go to medical school. And we can have Joe follow up on that later, but let's hear from the students about what your plans are at this point after graduation.
Yeah, what about those that thinking go to grad school?
Yeah.
How does Miami help you to go to grad school? Okay. Hope?
Okay, so I actually started out pre-med, and then I realized that the only reason I was interested in the pre-med route was because of the science part. The health part did not interest me at all. So now I'm planning on going into grad school for something related to microbiology. And honestly, I would say that going from both ends of the spectrum of seeing from the pre-med support as well as seeing the general grad school support, I would say Miami does a fantastic job. They provide a lot of opportunities. It's just a matter of, are you going to take advantage of them? And frankly, there's so many that you can't do them all, but that's the best part in the sense that you can pick the things that apply best to you, what you're most interested in. But honestly, Miami is just full of people who want you to succeed and are willing to do the work to get you to succeed as long as you're willing to do that work as well.
Garrett, what are your plans after graduation?
So yeah, I'm going, or at least I'm planning on going to medical school and then also trying to get a master's in public health degree along with my MD degree. And what I can say is that the Mallory Wilson Center and also I guess the microbiology department has been really helpful in kind of leading me along the path and kind of giving me some advice along the way. Like I had some interviews a couple weeks ago for med schools, and actually Dr. Carlin took some time out of his day to, help me with a mock interview to try to prepare me for those. So yeah, the Mallory Wilson Center.
How'd that go?
I think they went okay. I don't know. I'll find out next Thursday is when I hear back on them. So I'll let you know then.
So, did you feel more comfortable doing the interview after?
Yeah, no, it was definitely, and especially like online interviews are weird anyway. So kind of getting that initial burden of like the awkwardness of talking into a camera instead of talking to your screen, that kind of helped alleviate that. And then also just the type of questions to kind of, train your brain to think that way and speak in coherent sentences. But yeah, it's definitely helpful.
Very good. All right.
And Ariel, you've already been accepted to medical school to at least one anyway. Who said that?
That was Alyssa.
Okay, sorry, Alyssa. Let's go to Alyssa next.
Yeah, so I have been accepted to one medical school so far. October 15th is the first day they can accept MD students at least. And so I was accepted last Thursday, so that was exciting.
Nice.
I have, I think, 6 other interviews I've done so far, and I'm still waiting to hear back from like 12 other schools. So it's like it's a grueling process, but it's definitely, I've been extremely well prepared with everything through Miami, through Mallory Wilson, and as well as my biology degree and working in research. So I'm excited.
So Ariel, what are your plans?
Yeah, so I'm doing Miami in 3 years. So I plan after my graduation this May, I'm going to take a year off just to like get some other experience and some sort of job medically related, and then go into medical school after that.
David, what about you?
Yeah, I'm actually also taking a year off. I'm going to do a gap year, which I had been like kind of weighing that back and forth in my mind for a while, but like just because my plan is still like take a gap year, I'm probably going to end up doing some medical scribing, which was also suggested to me by the pre-health advisor. So that was like, it was actually Ms. Walborn who was really helpful with that. But yeah, I just wanted experience like kind of outside of the classroom, and I didn't want to dive right into another like 4 years of intense schooling. So I decided to do a gap year. But like I said, I had been like weighing that for a while, and but like the Mallory Wilson Center was very helpful in just like kind of guiding like what path I wanted to take. And like when I did have some like qualms about like med school and the whole process and all that, they were very helpful with all like just straightening all those things out. And then it left me more time to do like focus on research too. So it worked out really well.
So Joe, maybe you can take a few of these questions.
Yeah, just starting to look through those.
There's one on the MCAT and then one on PA programs, which you could probably talk a little bit about.
Right. Okay. So let's see. So Madison's asking, what % of your students get admitted into their first choice of medical school? I don't know that we've actually looked at how many are getting into their first choice. Usually, you have when you're applying, you say, here's my dream position, and you have some of those, and then you have here's some ones that are good, and here's some that kind of well, if I don't get anywhere else, I'm going to have these on my list too. Okay. And so we really haven't divided the data up amongst that. It's really all about, did you get in, because, if you graduate from the best medical school in the country, if you graduate from the least best medical school in the country, what do they call you when you graduate? Doctor, right? So you can practice medicine, but we do track how well they do, and our statistics, whether it's an MD program or a DO program, you're still a doctor, and so we're hitting our 4-year average is around 62%, and that includes everybody, including those that really didn't have a ghost of a chance of getting in. Their GPA was way too low, or some other things that are going against them. But we count them all because we think that's the most honest approach, the most transparent approach. Everybody that has released their records, we count them. What percentage of students pass the MCAT on their first attempt? Well, passing the MCAT, it's not really a pass or fail. It's rather you get a score, like when you take an ACT test, you get a numeric value. And when we are evaluating our students, one of the things that we look at, if you've gotten at least say a 3.2 GPA, which is really pretty low, I'd rather see you closer to 3.5. But if you got a 3.2 and hit at least the 50th percentile, okay, and look at all the students that got in, it's still 72%. If you start looking up at something what if you get in the 75th percentile on your MCAT score, a 3.5? Well, then we're hitting closer to 80% acceptance. But you even see students that have had, 4.0 GPAs and, tremendous MCAT scores not getting in because they lacked all the other things that are important for getting into medical school. Do you have healthcare experience, or are you just a bookworm? Can you talk to people? You have to be able to relate to patients. Have you shown that you're a compassionate individual? Do you do volunteering? A lot of other things go into this picture that medical schools try to used to evaluate whether you should be going to their medical school or not. So it's really a multifactorial type of decision. Now, certainly good scores are important. It helps a lot, okay? But other factors along the way. And that's some of the stuff that we talk about in some of the courses that we offer through the pre-medical studies co-major. All right. Eric was asking what resources or co-majors do you have for pre-vet students? Well, some of the pre-vet students will take the pre-medical studies co-major, but often what we suggest to them is to talk to the pre-vet advisors, and there's a pre-vet club. And I think Dr. Hoffman could weigh in on that a little bit.
Absolutely. With pre-vet, it's particularly important that you get volunteer experiences. So we actually try and encourage students to do work with actual practicing vets. That's more important than doing the co-major. Co-major can be helpful, but because pre-vet students don't have to worry about patient confidentiality, they can get a lot of experience with vets. And so we encourage students to get out and get lots of experience with local vets or vets in their home area. And we do have sort of specialty advising for pre-vet students.
Yeah, sure. And it's also, now, Emily was asking, I was looking into becoming a physician assistant after college. Does the pre-med co-major help support this also? Yes, we support a wide range of pre-healthcare careers. So pre-med, pre-PA, pre-dentistry, pre-optometry, pre-physical therapy, occupational therapy. We tend to do just about everything except maybe vet and nursing, because nursing has their own component. So, but we really try to be as comprehensive as we can, because a lot of the same advice works for all of these pre-health students. They all need to be focusing on similar things. So yeah, we advise you all.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the faculty that are panelists do a lot of sort of pre-health advising in addition, as departmental advisors. So the first couple years are really similar in terms of the courses you take. So you haven't ruled out any career paths at that point, and you're still, you can still shift over within the healthcare fields as well as other fields in the life sciences. We are going to have a PA program at Miami in a couple of years. So it's under development right now.
Yeah, we were just at a meeting yesterday with Dr. Howell about the PA program. They've got the curriculum coming together. They're making great progress on that. Let's see.
Kelly, there are a couple questions about public health accreditation. Do you want to respond? So at least one question about that.
Yes. As far as accreditation, our program is right now too young to be accredited. There are quite a few steps in the process of accreditation. We are intending to become accredited, but it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a years-long process. It's not an instant kind of thing. You don't just fill out an application and get an answer back immediately. So that's in the works. And I do see the question about the Caribbean. And I have to say, I have no idea. It will be US, and I don't know if that carries over anywhere else as well. That's the kind of question for the public health director, Dr. Lesser, because we actually have a director that oversees all of the concentrations of the public health degree.
All right. I see we did have a question. How does Miami prepare its students for the MCAT? The courses that are in the co-major are the courses that either covered in the MCAT or are required by most medical schools. So we try to make sure that you have you know which courses you need to take in order to take the MCAT. We do not have any specific MCAT coursework yet. That's something we're exploring. We don't have anything like that yet, so no promises there. But we do work with some of the different MCAT companies. They come onto campus, they recruit. Sometimes we can offer scholarships that they offer to us, opportunities for Miami students. So there's those types of things going on. But we don't have anything yet in terms of official MCAT courses at Miami, other than the ones that that they can come in. And a lot of that just goes online right now because of our current pandemic situation.
So I can talk a little bit about the environmental science degree. Again, it's a co-major. It's not its own degree program. Most of our program, there are very specific programs that have their own professional certification or accreditation. Environmental science is not one of them. So biology is not one of them. That is just a matter of having the credentials to be qualified for environmental science. Now, environmental engineering is a different animal altogether. That is a professional engineering degree. But there is no professional accreditation for environmental science degrees, other than our university-wide accreditation.
Okay.
I can take the one on the sustainability one as well. Again, since I was the director of those programs. The environmental science, and this is true of most of the co-majors that we have at Miami, a lot of them are geared towards certain types of majors. So the environmental science is geared more towards natural science majors. So there's more overlapping, and the sort of the foundation and core requirements are in the natural sciences, biological and earth sciences. The sustainability is more human dimensions of sustainability. So the science courses that students would take as part of that are non-majors courses, which typically don't count towards requirements, say in biology or microbiology. So most of the natural science students who are doing the environmental science co-major will do the environmental science co-major, and then it's other fields like urban planning, business, more human organizational management areas that will, or organizational sustainability dimensions that will do the sustainability co-major.
All right. So I've been looking at this question about this HPM program, and I wasn't quite sure what that was. And so I've done a little bit of research on that. And that's actually, it looks like that's a health professions mentoring program. And that's not what we have here at Miami University. The closest thing that we have is that, well, we have our pre-medical studies co-major. We also have, in terms of there's an honors and scholars program, which are the pre-medical scholars. But we don't actually have the health professions mentoring program. The closest we have is our co-major. There are other schools that have such a thing, though.
So well, I think we've covered most of the questions.
Don, there is one that is good for the students to answer about professors and fellows, the last one.
Okay.
Who wants to take that one?
I can start. So I know for me in the very beginning, professors were incredibly intimidating to me. They still kind of are, but that's not because they should be. That's literally, these professors are all absolutely amazing and super welcoming. And so I would say that if you feel as though you don't feel comfortable around a professor, I would indicate that's more something coming from your end rather than their end, in the sense that every single professor that I have met and talked to has really made me feel really comfortable. And I've really loved getting to know them better. And then also with students, honestly, there's so many networking opportunities when it comes to clubs, courses, on Miami's campus that it's very hard not to get connected to students unless you're purposely trying to isolate yourself. And I know I was able to find a study group in a course called MPI 223, which is a bacteriophage course offered for first year microbiome students, or any students, but it's a microbiome course. And I found a group of students that I still study with today. And that was absolutely awesome for me to meet those. But courses, clubs, anything, frankly, Miami does a fantastic job of trying to welcome students, whether from the aspect of professors or students.
Any other students want to add to that?
I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, I would definitely
Don't let
agree
us
with
intimidate you. Yeah.
I was just gonna add, like, even now when classes are online and stuff, I feel like I know people in my classes well enough that whether it's like breakout groups or just doing like small in-person or Zoom like study sessions, I always still feel connected. And that just goes to show that everyone in my classes has always been super like encouraging, and especially like when you're taking a bunch of the same classes, like if you're on the pre-med track or if you're a bio or microbiome major, there will be semesters where you're all in like biochem, physics, and it gets a little bit daunting, but there's definitely that there's not like a competitive, like, oh, I just want to do the best that I can and I don't care how anyone else does. It's very like we're all in the same boat and we're all gonna like get through it together. And I still study with people that I met in like my entry level like Gen Chem class and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful and like gotten me through a lot of like rough, like harder patches in the semester.
Yeah, to kind of echo what Susanna just said, especially if you have the pre-med co-major, you're going to be taking a lot of the same classes around the same time as other students. So it becomes, the people that you see tend to repeat. So it becomes really easy to make friends that way. Another avenue I found that was like a really good way to kind of get closer with professors and students was research. I joined a research lab when I was a freshman. And so most students in the lab were older than me. And of course, there are graduate students and professors involved. But that kind of forms an innate like mentorship almost system, just like having those resources and people that you work with that way. And I always found, like Hope said, like at the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, like professors are, intimidating. But I found that like every professor I've had has been so approachable, so willing to help with anything, to talk about anything. So yeah.
Just to talk a little bit more about like being intimidated by a professor, the thing is, like, you're probably going to come across something that's just not going to make sense. I don't know what class it's going to be in for you, but you're probably going to come across something that just makes no sense. And your professors don't want that for you. They want to help you. So if you don't like understand something, like go to their office hours, sit down with them, and they will do their best to explain that to you. That is one thing like I have noticed is every professor I've ever had wants you to understand. They're not coming after you. They don't want you to like fail. They want to help you succeed. So please take advantage of that. That was something I had to learn.
Yeah, another thing is if you don't understand something, like not only go to your professors to help yourself, but also like there's a very good chance like with the classes you're taking that if you don't get it, 90% of your class doesn't get it either. And so really when you do that, you're just kind of helping everyone. And the professors will tend to realize that and be like, okay, they're not like getting this. And then it'll just kind of help out everyone. And then I mean, the same thing goes for if you're not getting stuff, then you go to other people in your class. Then if they don't get it, then you start to work with them, and just another way to form study groups that way. So that is like really helpful.
So we have a question here, and we'll get back to a couple of the other ones I think we skipped over, but I think this is a good place to bring Dr. Balish into the conversation, because there's a question about how we've handled lab courses. And I have to say that Dr. Balish and Dr. Russell have had a Herculean effort in our general biology, which is taught jointly by biology and microbiology faculty. They've done an outstanding job to really just navigate through that. And I'll let her talk more about that.
Okay, yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. I teach the introductory course for both biology majors and microbiology majors, and other students who are kind of interested in any really biological science related majors. So we have bioengineering majors and biochem majors in there as well. So the really big kind of intro bio course. And with labs being with social distancing and everything that had to go on this semester, it definitely was a daunting challenge for planning. Normally, so when we're face-to-face, our laboratories for those intro courses meet for an hour and 50 minutes, so almost 2 hours a week. And a challenge that I think students and faculty face with when you meet once a week is sometimes it's really easy to forget what you've learned from week to week. So we sort of toyed with a lot of ideas of how to handle trying to meet in person. And eventually what we settled on was we have students coming in every week still. So students who chose to meet in person come in for about 45 minutes. And they'll do kind of a hands-on activity in the lab. And we have to limit the number of students who are in the lab to about 10 to 12. So we have sort of the first round come in, then things get wiped down and we have the second round come in for class. And so that's worked out pretty well. We have online activities that they have to complete before coming into lab. And then a lot of the semester actually for first year students has been focused on some work that students have been doing where they're actually outdoors, and they use an app called iNaturalist. So I don't know if many of you have been using that in your classes, in your biology classes right now in high school, but it's been a really fantastic kind of activity that students can go out and explore the natural world and make observations. We have a scavenger hunt every week where they have to try to find 5 particular organisms. So we have lichens and mosses and different kinds of trees and that sort of thing. And those, so we don't limit it to just those 5, but if they get those 5, they get kind of each, they're 1 point organisms and then they're half point organisms. And so we kind of mix it up that way. And then the other thing that we're doing is we have students who cannot come to campus for any number of reasons. We have some students who just for their own health can't take that risk of being in person. And so we've given them the opportunity to take lab online. And actually, while we've been in this meeting, my husband brought in all the boxes that we've ordered, and we're going to be mailing out little care packages to students to complete some activities on their own while they're at home. So it's been a lot of adjustments as last spring was as well. We kind of try to move with the changes as they come, but it's knock on wood, we're making it so far.
I think, go ahead, Luis.
What I can add, I'm teaching a bacteriophage course for first year students, and it was quite challenging because it's part of a program with the Howard Hughes Institute, by which you had to have a particular sample being sent to Pittsburgh by after Thanksgiving. And the idea is, how do we do that? And basically 2 instructors and 4 graduate students, we start the process until they were able to come to campus. So on when it was September the 21st, they were here, but by the time they came, the process was already started. So we teach that face-to-face. We have 10 students. It's face-to-face, face covering, face shield, and then we try to do as much as we can with the caveat that I hope they don't close the state because we are in trouble right now. But the whole idea is try to teach as much as we can. And what we are planning for next semester is maybe divide one section of the lab in 2 labs that be taught simultaneously. So distancing, social distancing, safety will be number one, but can we teach a lab as we normally do? It's going to be a challenge, but the whole idea is see how much you can teach face to face.
And Dr. Hoffman also has some experience teaching an advanced lab this fall.
So right now I'm teaching my mammalogy class, usually has a lot of lab activities involved. But because it's a senior level advanced class, we limit it to fewer than 25 students. And so I've been taping my lectures and students watch those asynchronously. And we take all the lecture and lab time that we had scheduled and broke the students up into small groups of 5 or 6. So that with the social distancing and the masks, they can each come in for an hour and a quarter every week and do at least some of the lab activities. Because a class like that, looking at a picture of a rabbit just isn't the same as actually seeing that rabbit skeleton up close.
So I'm going to go back and just pick up a few things that maybe we didn't answer completely that were still in the Q&A. So Dr. Hoffman touched a little bit on the zoology major about the like the courses she teaches in mammalogy, ornithology. I think another aspect of the zoology major is, and I think this is true of everything that we do in the life sciences, is we really give you a lot of hands-on learning opportunities in the sciences. It's in the life sciences. You know, research is part of that, but in our courses we do that too, in our labs and in our courses. But you know, our zoology courses in particular, you know, you go out in the field, you observe things, you learn to identify things, you electroshock fishes at Acton Lake. You know, you're getting that hands-on experience so that you know, not all of most of our life science students aren't going on to medical school or even the health, even in the health areas. A lot of them do, but you know, these are all experiences that will serve them well in whatever careers they choose afterward. So I think it's really just those hands-on experiences in the lab, in the field, and in the research realm that I think set us apart from some of the other programs out there. There was a question in here about, I think we addressed the one about the pre-medical track a little bit, but the primary student service center is in Pearson is the Health Mallory Wilson Center for Healthcare Education. Of course, our department offices are also student services offices. So the departments of biology and microbiology share an office suite. So I could wave at Luis right now. He's across the way in the office suite.
Right.
So, you know, we have, you know, not as many students this fall as we normally have in the office, but, you know, we help out a lot of students every day and we're just doing more of it virtually.
So you guys are practicing social distancing, huh?
That's right, we are, yeah.
The doors are closed.
Yeah. But the main student services building is enrollment management and student services, and that's the Nellie Craig building on campus. And then I can go ahead and address the undergraduate one, and Luis first year undergraduate part-time job. So I think both of our departments hire a lot of undergraduates as student hourlies. Again, we're doing a little bit less of that because we're limiting the number of people in labs right now. But that is one of the many ways in which you can get involved in undergraduate research. There are many other avenues or entry points in undergraduate.
Yeah, there are plenty of opportunities. The only thing you have to do is talk to the mentors, talk to the faculty. You will be paid to come and work. do research during the summertime, and if the faculty has funds from NIH or NSF, they will pay you to come and work during the summertime. Miami puts quite a bit of money in the undergrad summer scholarship, and we really encourage it. So sometimes I get 4 or 5 slots, and then we had to put the students, and the idea is you work 9 to 10 weeks, 9 hours a day for those weeks, and at the end of the day, you may get the paper out, and for sure you may get a presentation out. What is really, really important, either you go to medical school or grad school, those are great opportunities.
And maybe I'll let Joe talk about the shadowing.
Yeah, I can't see that question. So
Yeah.
read the question to me, please.
So it's a more general question than just physician shadowing, but what opportunities are there for job shadowing or volunteer opportunities? And I think Dr. Hoffman mentioned that volunteering for local vets is really important, but I know the Mallory Wilson Center does these.
All right. Okay, so one of the things that's going on right now is with COVID-19 and the pandemic, a lot of the opportunities, say, for volunteering in our local hospital have been shut down. They're not taking volunteers right now, but we know that things are going to be getting better. We have been in conversation with Mercy Health and some of the hospitals there, and they are agreeing that they're going to be opening up some shadowing opportunities for Miami students over our winter break. All of this is going to be getting better. We, in the past, have been offering preceptorships. People can apply for a preceptorship. So what a preceptorship is the student is the precept. They will shadow extensively with a physician 4 or 5 days, during all of their office hours, get a real sense of what that profession is all about. Students apply for these. We match them up with alumni physicians that we have in our database. We run a matchmaking thing. There's certain things that we need students to have completed. They have to have gotten through a year of coursework. They have to have at least a certain GPA. And we put them through some training, some HIPAA training, so that they understand patients' rights and things like that. And then we match them up when we can, and sometimes this is various places around the country. Now, currently, it's a lot more challenging because many physicians are working in places that are not allowing these types of healthcare experiences currently, but we know that it's going to get better. We see that it's opening up. We're understanding more about this virus and how to prevent its transmission, how to keep students safe, how to keep patients safe. So things are going to be getting better. But a lot of times with shadowing, at least within the medical field, there are people that you know that you hadn't thought about. There are friends of your family that that may be in the medical profession. There may be your own doctor. There may be your friends and their parents could know people. And so we always encourage students that are interested in doing job shadowing to not ignore their own contacts. Those can work very well for you too.
Then there's a question here about class sizes. This would be a good one for the students to talk a little bit about. You know, Dr. Balish was talking about general biology. You know, is kind of one extreme, and then there are a lot of other class sizes that you'll see at Miami. So whoever would like to start on that one.
Talk about a sea of faces.
Yeah, a sea of faces. Yeah.
You need 3 monitors to have all the Zoom windows.
Yeah.
Okay, don't be that shy. Come on.
Yeah. I will just mention early on, yeah, you're going to see there's going to be bigger classes, but as you progress in the major, it gets smaller and smaller. Even courses like Dr. Balish's first year general biology courses, the lectures may be big, but the labs are small. And so you're still getting some of that small personal attention, and the professors are going to talk to any of the students that are having issues that want to stop by and talk to them. That open door policy exists even in the courses that have larger enrollment.
With regard to the labs, Tom and I worked together with the design, the redesign of the building, and we made a decision, no more than 24 students in a teaching lab. And we fixed that number. We could have taken a larger number, but no more than 24, because that's a good number to manage a good teaching hands-on experience.
I'd say as a student, I mean, just as was already stated, labs are going to be smaller. And then as you get in the higher level courses that are less gen ed, you're going to fit with a smaller group of people. And like we've said before, usually for our kinds of majors, like especially for microbiology, it's a small enough group of people that you're going to consistently see. So you're probably going to form really good connections, even not only with students, but with professors. I would say that overall, microbiology especially has really small class sizes usually, which is really nice. But even for the class sizes that are relatively large, it's not like being in a sea of faces as that's described. Mostly because the professors make a massive effort of ensuring that it's not that case. With labs, you have TAs. You also usually have UAs in your courses. I'm an SI leader, and that's another thing that I won't get into exactly what that is, but it's another role that Miami has put that allows for students to get a more personalized approach. Also, Miami does a fantastic job of ensuring that professors provide office hours so that, and a lot of students can take advantage of that and get a personalized interaction with the professors as well. So regardless of class size, usually it's quite small, but even if it's on a larger scale, you do not feel like you're just being ignored. You feel like you're honestly having a personalized approach, which is really nice.
In addition to this, I found, like, I remember in my organic chemistry lecture, there were like 200 kids in the lecture, and I couldn't make it to office hours just between like work and research. And like I emailed my professor at the beginning of the semester and I was like, I'm never gonna be able to make it to your office hours. And she literally made like a standing appointment for me in a time that wasn't in her original office hours. So, and that's like not the, I've heard of many people who've had that happen with a professor. So the professors are phenomenal at kind of prioritizing your education and making sure that you get one-on-one time on them with them, even in classes that have like 200 kids.
So the original timing for the new PA program was June of 2023. That may be delayed because of the COVID situation, and the clinical health sciences building was delayed a little bit in the kind of the early stages because of that. So I don't know, Joe, if you heard anything from Dr. Howell more recently about when now they do have to go through the all the accreditation for the PA program before they open up. So they've got a little bit of work ahead of them, but June 2023 was the date that I remember.
Yeah, my understanding is that everything kind of got pushed back a year.
Okay.
The one thing I learned that 2 days ago, the manager of the construction company was asking me when the students are going. I said, why you are interested in knowing when the students are going? Because they're going to put the trailers in the new place for the new building, and they start breaking ground on December the 1st. So they will start construction on December the 1st. I learned that this past week. So the building is going to be going up right now, pretty soon.
The second part of that question had to do with pairing that with the pre-medical studies co-major. So usually your applications go out at the end of your junior year. So that could match up pretty well, I would think. So yeah, your timing might be perfect.
All right, well, we don't have any new, we'll wait a minute here for you, see if there are any new questions from from the attendees. While we're waiting a bit, I want to thank the faculty and the students for taking time, and for Carol and Margaret for spending time. So just a follow-up to that PA program for fall 2021. Yes, it would work. I think that's what Dr. Carlin was saying, that you would be in your junior year would be the year when they would be accepting applications.
Right. So
Yeah.
if you're in the fall of 21, and this is going to be available in the fall of 24, then yeah, it might actually 21. It might actually already be around for a year by the time you would start. So I'm thinking it's quite likely, but it's a lot of speculation because pandemic and all. So we always have to. We don't want to overpromise, but it looks likely.
Right, and like Tom said, thank you to all the participants, thank you to all of the attendees. And again, if you have any questions, I guess you have seen our names, and then I think you know how to find us. Feel free to contact us if you have any further question or whatever you want to know. We will be glad to chat with you.
I just wanted to clarify that as a student, I'm completely content with being contacted as well. So if you guys want to, you guys can contact me if you guys have any questions too. I'm a CAS ambassador, which means part of my role as that is kind of assisting any incoming students who are interested in Miami as well. So.
Yep. If you've got questions about anything to do with the pre-med, pre-health program, go to our website. We do a lot of questions and answers by email, so we're kind of used to that.
Okay, well, thank you attendees for joining us. And again, thank you panelists for taking time out of your schedules to be with us, and we'll say good night.
And hope you've got an answer. You got a question in the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of necessary.
Okay.
How?
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I think that worked.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Yes.
Thank you, Hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all again, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
All right, thanks for coming. We appreciate it.